Hello, and welcome to the Amber Stitt Show. I am your host, Amber Stitt, and today we welcome Joe Rockey to the show, the founder of Elite Business Conversations. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Very excited.
Well, I'm excited to have you here because I need your help. I feel that a lot of people are scared of sales and there's a stigma behind sales. And we kind of need to shake that up a bit and make people see it differently. What do you think?
Well, you're 100% right. I mean, there's just no way around that. On the one hand, sales is single-handedly the tool that we all can do that as a profession can get us more dollar and cent wealth than basically any other industry on the planet. And make no doubt that sales is its own industry. I want to make that clear. It doesn't matter what you're selling, cars, computer equipment, hedge funds. It doesn't matter. Sales is its own industry. And then the product, is kind of transparent. But as long as you have something you believe in and you have innate human abilities, which you do because you're a person, you can be successful at sales. But the problem is so many people are stuck in this mindset of selling horribly as a remnant of the past. And it's stuck with us our whole lives. And this is why when we have things like when the first time I see a salesperson, what's the first thing we all do? We lie. Oh, I'm not here on this car dealership to look at a car. No, don't worry about me.
Don't talk to me into the store, just.
And then maybe I'll try to pull your price out of you, but I'm not going to commit to anything.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to disappear if I don't like it. And I'm going to give you as the salesperson no power. So what happened as a result of that? Salespeople in the 60s became very pressuring and forcing you into you're not leaving until you get this car. Well, here we are in the modern world where we don't need to do that anymore. As buyers, we can go onto Amazon or any other website where I don't need to talk to anyone, where at least it's a neutral experience and I can avoid the negative thing. But all of us have, as buyers, because we all are buyers, been taught salespeople are bad. We lie to them. It's okay to lie to them. I mean, who else in our life are it's okay we lie to? Salespeople, you're expected to. I mean, so when you say that there's a stigma and all that, it's 100% true. And it's mostly because sales have been done wrong for so long. And in my perspective, it's one of my great things about AI taking over. Because the way you actually sell correctly is through human relations, and AI will never be able to do that.
I love that. Oh, Joe, we got to stop there. Because I've been saying for the last, 6 months, as I've been working on different projects, and it's just, people are worried about it. And we've seen almost every generation, different industries. We're like, I'm not going to update and have a website or a blog, a podcast. No. And I work with a lot of older partners that really don't want to innovate because they're on their way out to succession planning and they are not really going to, but they want this legacy. And if you have clients and they have grandchildren, you have to at least be available to be found online. You probably need testimonials and other things, but lean into the AI and become more efficient. Let's not be scared of it. But any of us that want to stand out and shine in the world, having that human connection, that is key. And so communication, branding, even if you're an employee, not a business owner, a lot of clients of mine are physicians. They don't want to be business owners sometimes. They work with the health system. But I know that you've been on podcasts with physicians that do financial freedom talks and different things where you can still be on your own and have an entrepreneurial path that can generate other passive income. But you got to be able to talk and speak to people and communicate. And that's sales. My gosh, it's scary, right? But you got to just keep working on that is where I'm really finding that just in the last 5+ years of being a business owner myself.
Yeah. I mean, it's absolutely, if you can't connect to people, you're kind of in trouble. But here's the thing. We all can do that from birth. We all have this skill set in each of us. The problem is that throughout life, gradual ways we try to explore how do I connect with people. Some of them get tampered on, or if you think of yourself as a tree, that limb gets cut off and we get scared and we don't want to do it. And, billions of different examples we can think of our lives about, I'm never going to do that again, or I can do that. But there's many, many more that happened before your mind was an adult that you got told not to do this. Yeah. And you still have that remnant pain somewhere inside your head that you don't want to act this way, or I don't want to speak up, or whatever the case may be.
That didn't feel good. Yeah, just it's subconscious.
But the reality is that if you don't do your job, you're ending up hurting them. So you really do need to do it to help them, because when sales are done correctly, I have a product that I believe in. I know it's going to help you. And by you exchanging resources, paying me, I'm going to be able to give it to the next person and the next person and next person. Yeah. And that's the definition of a business, by the way. So if the salespeople aren't there, it's not going to work. They are by far the most important industry and part of any business. It's just the way it is. So I absolutely love it. And I absolutely love teaching people, motivating people to go do this. Now, it's not easy. I'm not going to try to say it is. You need to simultaneously be able to handle everything along the pathway that starts with figuring out how to get clients not to lie to you, even though they've been bred to do that since they were 3, all the way to becoming connected with them, that I know what's really going on in your world. So when you're talking to a grandparent, why are they saving this money? Why am I taking this money instead of going on a cruise with my kids now and giving it to you? Well, you need to be able to get to that real space with them. That's an incredibly personal conversation. I need to be able to find out what your real budget is, so I know if you actually can afford me. And I need to find out how to make decisions. All of those things, people just brush off. Like, we'll just kind of like fall into it and it'll just kind of work out because they're going to be forced to do it and they're going to go my way. And that's not the way the world's going anymore. Now, there are certain commonalities that as you do this long enough, you'll see the similarities. But if you can figure out the truths behind all of this, how to connect with someone quickly, how to get real answers, how to make them think of you as the go-to answer, that's when you're doing sales correctly.
Yeah,
and
it's like it's an ethical duty.
That's what we all have. It's just we don't know we have it or allow ourselves to do it. And you need taught, obviously. It's like any workout drill. You want to run faster? Work out. Yep. This is the same thing.
Yeah. And I think when you're talking about, if you reflect back on life, you're like, I probably can't do this or don't want to because of a previous experience. And maybe it's not super obvious, but those are just experiences and it's just helping you layer up to the next level. So it's data that we can use for the next time. But we have to have the courage to keep moving forward. So I think you're right about it's like an ethical duty to bring that, and you shouldn't be embarrassed about it, but doing it the right way and really meeting with somebody and working with people that you enjoy working with. For anybody that's working on, or for anybody that's buying something from somebody, it is okay to, like you talked about Amazon, I'm on Target, Amazon right now this time of year, like for my daughter's birthday. Okay. So of course I'm shopping around, but when we're talking about more specific, that element of that communication, work with somebody that you enjoy working with. And maybe you do need to check with 1 to 2 to 3 people, but really tell them what you need and then see who's giving you that proper relationship for moving into the future. And you mentioned something about almost like you're getting advice and there's an exchange of payment. It's very interesting that people tend to not want to pay for things, yet they will pay for an attorney, sometimes because you have to, or you'll pay for tax advice, sometimes because you have to file. But paying for other things in other arenas can be very interesting. And people say, I can't afford that. But I think you could agree that even personal development and paying to invest in yourself for additional coaching, it's a game changer. So it's kind of interesting. I wasn't even thinking about this when I was thinking about our talk today, but sometimes you have to spend some money to then have this thing that you need. And it's just funny how humans can be like, and be very picky about paying for being an expert, getting expert advice. And if we study business people that are successful, they'll have a team of experts that they pay for different things. And so let's talk about what you do and with what your company does. And I want to also speak to what your new book is about. So do you want to head there for a little bit?
So let's hit on that part first, because yes, it's obviously important that we all pay for things we're required to do. I mean, we have to pay our taxes, blah, blah, blah. We pay to get our car inspected. We know we have to do this stuff. But if you don't invest upon yourself, you don't get better. So that's a fact. And to give one other nugget before I get into exactly what it is that we do here, when you're entering into that point of working with people you want to work with, you also have to allow yourself the freedom of saying, this isn't a good fit. I'm out. We're not moving forward anymore. And if your business system you're at, whether as an employee or a business you're creating, does not allow that freedom, you're eventually going to destroy everything. You just haven't realized it yet. Because a prospect that's not meant to fit in your system is going to come through, you're going to over cater, and you're going to hinder your efficiency across the board. So it's a very simple empowerment of your people. Sometimes it's empowerment of yourself to say, you know what? I don't want to have a second date with you, and that's okay.
Putting some boundaries on it and not just taking any client. Is that what you mean?
Exactly.
Or even vice versa.
And then also saying you're no longer a client of mine. Like, no.
Yeah, I know some people get worried about that, but if you are not interested in that client, you're not going to look forward to helping them. And it just work stops being fun.
Exactly. That's one of the main things. It becomes all of these extra costs that we don't think about, really bury it in. And if we all can think about this, were places we were employed at, there are so many more features that go in. Am I going to work here more than what that dollar and cents paycheck is? I mean, it's essentially a math equation. The crap I have to deal with, now you have to pay me more, so I have to deal with. Or I love being here, so I'll accept less money because I have freedom, power, and I get to do it the way I want. And it's really one of the things that my clients get from me is how to have a better culture and pay less for it. It's remarkable. So to answer your question about what it is that we do here at Elite Business Conversations, essentially we answer three major problems. There's like a jillion subsets of these. But the first is those business owners that are feeling the pain and the restriction and all of the pressure in the world from not knowing where the next paycheck's coming from and the next source of revenue. Yeah. It's debilitating. It is anxiety ridden and all those negative things that people feel. At Elite Business Conversations, we solve that problem. The next group we help is, which I just alluded to here, are those managers and business owners that look around. Why am I paying these people? I don't know what they're doing. They don't know what I'm doing. And what's going on?
That disconnect,
like, why? So what we do, we were obviously a consulting firm. We give answers that are simple enough that will be accepted and be able to be implemented, but yet detailed enough that you're basically not going to be able to make a mistake well after the fact that we're gone. So this isn't just like having a consultant here, the problem gets fixed for 10 minutes, and then they leave, and then, the problem comes back. We actually put permanent solutions in effect. And the group that we help the most, and I think I get the most personal joy from helping, is those group of business owners that just heard those previous two sentences, and they feel regret in their hearts. Because they would rather walk away from the business than keep it going. They'd rather just have it dissolve.
Talk about that. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, I've been working at this mechanics place since 1994, and I'm ready to retire. My kids don't want it, so it's closed. And that's what I feel like doing. And as the business owner, there's nothing wrong with moving on to the next chapter, going on vacation, taking the new business.
Okay, so you're bringing clarity to some choices that it's okay to package it up, close it down, and move on to the next, whatever it could be for that person, that owner.
Yeah, well, they can move on to the next stage. The end result, what we're trying to do is honor their sacrifices. Yeah. Because in the process of building that business, there has been sacrifices made personally, professionally, and the inner circle of that person's life has felt that. And if you just turn it off because your kids don't want it, in a way, it's disheartening to the sacrifice you made there.
Oh, I mean, it could be, there's a grieving process. It could be really hard. Yeah.
And not to mention to your clients and your employees who would just lose a job because you want to retire. And what we do is we help the business live on without you, essentially. Whether that be you're still an owner or not, that part really isn't the relevant part. The part is the legacy of the sacrifices will not die in vain, and the business will live on. And there's very few companies that actually do what we do, merging the two problems.
Yeah. I think you're right.
We fix the business, and then if necessary, we will find a new buyer for it. Most people do one or the other. We'll fix it up, and we'll be a consulting firm, and we'll leave, or we'll put a for sale sign in front of it, and someone will buy it. But very few merge the two together, and that's one of the things that we do at Elite Business Conversations. And the majority of people that actually call us are not the business owner. They're typically the daughter or the wife of the business owner that says, Dad needs to leave. Like, he's done.
Okay. What you're giving is perspective. And again, third party, mediator. I even had to bring in a interior designer into the house at some point because my husband and I could not agree on, I was right. He was not, but I needed to be sure we have the third party. What you're bringing in is resilience in the fact of like, there's some conflict there. They can get advice that's just completely agnostic. And it's just following a framework that that works. So I love that you're bringing that in.
There's no way around that.
Yeah. And it's a neat thing. And I really work on that too, because it could be pretty heated. I mean, if the daughter's calling you, there's probably some things happening. But if you can work on that in advance and really feel clear-headed and go, okay, these are things that are coming up in the next 3 to 5 years, have the conversations and start building in those legacy plans, but do some of the work early that can help some of that fire drill that can happen. But it sounds like either way, your team can help with both aspects.
Yeah, we've come in at all spots of it. We've come in with Dad just had a heart attack. I'm not letting him go back. Yeah. So that was zero preparation. We just showed up on the ground. Took it off running to, you know what? I want to retire. I don't even know how to. I've been making amazing bread forever. I have no idea how to sell the baker. And that's reality. I mean,
it is when you're not performing and you're used to going, and then stopping. Like vacation's one thing, but you're going back in. Some people thrive off that. And obviously entrepreneurs do.
Actually, I'm glad you're right. That's one of the most important parts of our system. There is a minimum of a 3-week process where the owner has no connection with the business.
Ooh.
Zero. So it's,
Trial
can
period.
you handle being retired is essentially how the question gets asked. And during that time, obviously, we're stress testing the business, making sure it's going to work and the new management team is successful and all that. But it's really from the business owner's perspective, what does retirement look like? Or I'm glad we're going to have a nice check of money here, but I need to have another hobby or something.
Yeah.
You know, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's something to ease you into the next step. Because you are right. It is such a stark difference from waking up at 3 a.m. every morning to go make bread.
Yeah.
To have my bakery be successful to, I get to sleep in. I don't have to be up before the sunrise. I mean, you just go through all the body changes. We can barely handle an hour shift and we're fighting about daylight savings times now, let alone now I'm at home all the time. I see my family, my dogs, all this. It's different. And
who are these people that live in my house?
Through that process.
Right. I have to see these people all the time. Yeah, COVID changed that. Just, you know, for people like, I see you every day and I have to be okay with that. No, we had some space before, you know. No, I love that because I work within disability insurance and I've talked with attorneys that they have to be told to stop medically. They have some problems and they don't know how to just stop working, but they need to because it's not safe for anybody. So when it comes to an owner, like going through that trial period, I love that because they have to get through that transition period, but if you stay too long, that's not good. If you stay too long without a plan, I've seen that in my industry. So,
and what happens to a lot of people, and this is natural for small business owners, right? It's so hard to make it up and running. So you just get in that mindset of, I've got to win today. I got to win today. I got to win today and win today. And then you wake up, it's 30 years later. Because you were just such ingrained where if I didn't win today, I didn't have money. I wasn't able to pay for dinner.
Yeah.
And that's part of life. And I get that. That's real for all of us, especially when you're living a 100% commission lifestyle. But the thing is to go back to your first point, how do I reinvest in either myself or the business, depending on the situation, to be able to make it that I can have a final solution where I get to enjoy this rather than grinding myself into oblivion?
Well, we talk about on my podcast, focusing on talents. And I think that you're always needing to work on that really because of what you're talking about. I'm in my 40s and I see people that are 20 years older than I in my industry, and they just don't know what the next step is and how they're going to plug in. Have you ever heard people say, I can't believe you're on a podcast? Like, why do you do that? I mean, some people don't understand why we're building a network, Joe, and just out there building a community because you and I are going to need them one day and vice versa. It's so important because of changes and shifts and pivots and maybe the new thing that we need to fulfill and put into our lives. And so I think it's a constant work in progress. That's important.
I know when I started mine in 17, I had none of the technology, like this
2017
microphone that's noise canceling and all this.
Yeah.
None of that. I didn't even really know how to talk well. And now I'm on stages, giving keynote addresses. And was it annoying to learn how to edit? Do I really need to know how to do that whenever I'm helping someone transition their business? No, but it's a good skill set to have. Being used to talking in front of people without stuttering and saying, and being all those other annoying audio cues that you hear.
The filler words.
Yes, there's an example.
They're going to come now. They're going to just go bloop, and they're going to pop in. Hopefully not. Keep them out.
Well, that's exactly. We're going to say and like and totally like 40 times from now on.
But that's the thing. When you're around people that are saying those things, I'll be in consultation sometimes and those will pop in. I say, who have I been around? Who brought that here? Because it can fill in.
Well, I hope I didn't ruin it for your next meeting.
No, but it made me think of one of my podcasts I had. She brought something up and then we couldn't help ourselves. We were laughing. But back to the AI, this is what I'm talking about. What you're saying is there's so many things we can do even globally now. Sometimes it'll just pop up into our lives because of other things that we're doing. So don't underestimate the work. Some of the things that solopreneurs are doing, we're like, why? It's teaching us something before we can delegate out. You talked about the bakery. It's all, you got to learn how to bake the bread and then you can learn what you love to do about it and then delegate the rest. And that's what one of the fourth steps on the pathways is marketing and just innovation and keeping fresh with technology. It keeps us relevant, but I think it's going to give us longevity too. Yeah,
the skill set will. I mean, there's no way around that. Even if you just look at your skill set of being curious to learn new skills. I think that's one of the important parts because you glossed over it in your answer right there, but it's so important. There is so many business owners out there that knew that they built it the way that they did. And by the personality type that tends to be the type to take the risk to create the business only, it kind of self-regulates itself. But there's lack of trusting someone else to do this. It's, I know my way works, you're doing it my way.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether it's effective, efficient, or even good, this is what we're having. And this is part of how you get these old school legacy sales systems still horrorizing people today.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I know. Financial services is banking, institutional, all of that. I live in that world. I'm like, let's get modern, people. Let's talk to people in ways they'd like to receive information, which is, multiple ways. Not everyone's going to want to see your face. A lot of the young ones are not going to want to look you in the eye. Get over it. It's okay. Have the ability to give them what they need and what they want.
That's exactly it. At the end of the day, though, there's still base requirements we're fulfilling. We're just figuring out a different medium, right? We're still connecting. It's still, we're making something that's personal to you. Just because it doesn't look the same way as it did for the last generation, that's okay.
There's wisdom in it.
To give you a completely accurate analogy that every woman out here is going to understand. Think of the wedding dress you were in. Now think of the one your mother was in and the one that your grandmother was in. Okay. And tell me you wanted to be the same way.
I think, yes. Okay. No, I do not want that dress, but I did not love my dress. So you're bringing back some trauma. No. Yeah. I could have picked a better dress, Joe, regardless.
So here, even your own dress from a couple of years ago. There we go.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. No, but that's a perfect analogy. I just think it's funny that you're bringing that up. Like, you must know a female that would say the same thing.
Yes. I mean, many of them, quite frankly. But when you go like this, I mean, it's real. I mean, why are we trying to force people in a way they don't want to be? Mm-hmm. It's stupid. Yeah. Why do we do that? I mean, obviously, this conversation wasn't about management. But the exact same principles apply there. Like, why are we hiring and incentivizing people in a way that's not effective compared to what the world is now and trying to put them in a model from the 60s? That's stupid.
Yeah. And that's where working on whatever personality assessment that works, or what you, maybe even if you don't believe in it, but if you can understand if someone's opposite of you, so let's just talk about a team, it might feel like a little conflict, but if you could adjust your thinking for a moment, think more like them, put yourself in their shoes. There could be a way to just meet in the middle, but you have to think outside the box and be open-minded. For sure. Just
hit the management side, not to dive into this, because it applies to sales too. We all have started driving through in this post-COVID world and seeing that service at places like McDonald's isn't what it used to be. And the drive-through line is so much longer. So on the one hand, someone can make the observation, well, everyone just wants McDonald's. Until you realize the line isn't moving. It's just they're stuck there because the drive-through isn't going. Well, we can do the same old method of just paying everyone inside that building hourly and just have that. Or we could say, we're going to pay you X amount per order complete.
Yeah.
Guess what happens? You start paying them on the model of order complete, that line doesn't stay long. It starts moving rapidly, and the overall sales in the building skyrocket. Are you paying more for individual wages? Hell yeah, you are. Are you making significantly more money? Yes. So why does it really matter? Have you ever looked at an income statement that says, what was your hourly rate or what was the net profit? What do you care more about?
Are you talking about those that require everyone to return to work?
No, that's not even required to work. It's how do you incentivize people and pay them appropriately? Because the incentive isn't sitting here for an hour because I'm going to get the same paycheck regardless. Now it's, I can control it. If people driving by see that the line's shorter, they're more likely to get in line, which means I'm now going to get paid for the order I just got done and the next one.
No, I love that you say that.
It's just a rapid growth. It's empowering people. Again, going back to business owners that don't want to empower people, you are the problem.
There's a women's group that I'm a part of, and a recruiter for she's now on her own. She was within a bigger institution, and they've designed, okay, you could have a base salary. You could be production only. Everyone knew what everyone made on purpose, and people could move from one model to the other within certain timeframes. But it gave the newbie a chance that's maybe scared of sales to get their feet wet, but they might not make as much. The production ones just get paid like you're talking about. Some of them thrive off that. Some of them just need some time to get used to that.
Sure.
They were the only team that I've ever heard of. I mean, I got thrown into the typical, you need to do this, you need to study for your securities licensing, you're going to do all 5 things to 10 things. And I'm like, I want to do 2 things and niche down because these are the things that I like. And it was just so bizarre that it wasn't acceptable. So then that always pushes those people to go start my own thing, which I did. But you can see, if you're not going to create different bundles of packages of solutions and let people participate in that, be creative with it. It doesn't have to be just the way it used to be. So I appreciate you saying that.
Absolutely. And it solves so many problems that the people don't even realize, because you actually will now write a job description that's specific. You get paid for this and this.
Yes.
If you
you're not
don't
hiring and confusing people like, okay, you're hired for this because this is the role, but then you're going to answer the phones, but you weren't told you're going to have to be on the phones. You're going to be behind the scenes, but then owners a lot of times just drop these extra things and get upset that they're not amicable to the change. They weren't hired for that.
That's exactly it. So you're creating from a starting point. This is what we get compensated for. And then as managers, it's your job to make sure it's all lined up and going to go in the right direction. That piece A will connect with piece B, et cetera. And you're not just making problems. That's a different issue.
Yeah.
But it makes so much, you have clarity. Now people who want to do that task are drawn to it. You're giving them the opportunity to control their income. And as a result, if everything is synergy and going the right way, every single person that's more successful is helping the entity overall.
Yeah.
And obviously sales is a big component of that. But this, again, sorry, I turned from sales into management on you there. It's
no, but leadership, I mean, the salespeople have to perform for the leadership, and there can be a disconnect there. So leaders literally need to delegate and scale, but they still need to be present and a part of the process.
And they need to trust their people.
Yeah. So Joe, I'm going to link up ways for people to find you, but let's chat a little bit about like, where's the best way if people want to connect with you now, but then also let's get excited about how they can work with you in other ways too. You have some things coming up. Yeah.
So easy, obviously LinkedIn, you can connect with me there instantly. And then we have a lot of different ways depending upon your needs from us. So if you're looking for us to come in and help you from the whole enchilada, that's elitebusinessconversations.com. And I recognize up front that we are expensive. I get that. So what we did was we wrote a book about the question I get asked the most. How can we make more money? How can I be successful in this game called sales? And I wrote a book called Casino Sales Master, Proven System to Beat the Odds in Sales and Life. And what it was using this sales system I teach people that we've kind of talked about a little bit here in the most one-sided sales arena on the planet, which is a casino floor. Everyone knows the house always wins. It's the way it is. So you can't go, a version of winning is I just didn't lose all my money. That's how people approach the casino where not only do I do it every single time I'm in a casino, this outlines how I did it from that specific context, but how it outlines to any person in sales. So it answers all of the questions that I brought up. How do you get someone to trust you? How do you identify what your strengths are and what you should lean on? How do I figure out how to be in that person's world so they feel I was their best friend since they were 3? All of this stuff we dive into all the way through them being happy to pay you and then wanting to find you again to pay you some more. That is the system overall. It's the revenue side when we do revenue pipeline corrections. That's what this book's about. So the entry phase, and then you can find me obviously there, casinosalesmaster.com. And then the entry state for that is the price of a book, which is pretty negligible. And then as an in-between space, we did video coaching to dive deeper into depth about each of the individual policies there that you can either use for your self-training to become better, to become, say, hey, I want a promotion. I'm going to go through this training and I'm going to be able to get it. And not only am I going to be able to get it, I might even be able to jump a step. Yeah,
because you're giving variations based upon like where people are, because some people might already have a project lined up and they need maybe that do-it-yourself moment. But then as things can change and evolve, then they can plug in with you as needed, because I know I've been there too. So that's awesome.
Absolutely. That happens a lot where there's people that at the beginning, they have more time than money, and that's fine. Yeah. That's where we're at in our stage of our business. And then we get to the point where now we have money, but I have no time to do anything. Joe, just come and get your company to do this for us.
Yeah.
And like I said, we wanted to be able to help everyone along the way, because I do know sales are going to heal the world when it's done correctly. And I want to teach people how to do it right. And that's why our goal is to get 10,000 of the video trainings out there, because then it will make an impact where buyers will no longer accept the way that they have been getting sold to. And that's already starting to change, but I want to cement it across the world.
No, I'm happy to help with that. That's great. Thanks, Joe, for being here. Joe, is there anything else that people could apply to their lives today? So they click off this podcast and they're like, I'm going to do this today because I'm a take action type of girl and I have really like no excuses. Like, let's get stuff. Let's move forward. Is there one little nugget that people could apply today as they turn off this episode?
Absolutely. I'll give you guys the way to do this. And this is something we all can do right now. If you're driving, wait till you're home. But close your eyes and think about what it is that you have inside yourself that you know is positive. And by this, I don't mean resources. I mean things that you can do at any point with anyone. For some people, it's I can be a great listener. For some people, it's I can bring a lot of energy. I can be a quiet friend. I can be counseling, whatever.
Yes.
Think of what
Simplify
those things are and just imagine them all kind of getting congealed into this big block of butter inside of your mind, and allow that butter to start sizzling and melting itself down. And what I want you to think about are, what are the ones you enjoy doing the most? And what you will see is 3 to 6 of those attributes that you have inside yourself will become present. And what your task is, and what will make you a better person, to answer your question right now, and this will be true in sales, as a parent, as a spouse, and all of it. Whatever those words are that are inside your mind's eye, lean into them as hard as you possibly can. And your life will vastly improve in a way that you would never expect.
Trust that. Sometimes we play it down. Some of those simple things that maybe we're good at or we can bring to the table, like listen to that. I think you're so right. And give yourself some, grace on that, because ultimately that's like the way you can connect with people and bring that solution to the problem. And you can be that person for someone else.
That's exactly it. And they're all things that are free that you have within yourself.
Yeah.
So no matter what kind of hole you're in or pinch or whatever the case may be, you can lean on those core strengths. And again, if they're positive things that are already things you like doing, they will take you to any place in this planet as long as you're willing to trust yourself and to lean into them.
Love that. Okay. Don't close your eyes while driving. But, do this in a safe place. Thank you so much for being here, Joe.
Oh, yes. Thank you for having me. I'm very glad to be here. Again, if anyone wants to check out the book, they certainly can do so at casinosalesmaster.com. You'll be able to not only see the copies of the book, but as well as the video trainings that we discussed earlier.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. All right. We'll see you soon.
Having me. Yes.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode of The Amber Stitt Show. For more information about the podcast, books, articles, and more, please visit me at amberstitt.com. Until next week, enjoy your journey at home and at work. Thank you for listening.